Hi, guys. Welcome back to my channel, the most triggering show on healing. So, today I'm going to do a quick video regarding what is true love. Now, there are a couple of ways to look at this. True love, in the truest sense, is another name for unconditional love. And I'm going to explain what that is. And you can probably also find this in my first video, I think. And then the second way to look at true love is the more modern day or commercial sense. Um, Commercial meaning the cultural, modern day pop cultural sense, which is the romantic definition of true love, which is going to be different than unconditional love. And I'm going to go over what are some of the definitions that um, the way that I define it, which is going to be different from the way that others define it. Now, the way that others define true love is going to be probably a combination of the two, where true love to a lot of people means that they love another person with their whole heart or unconditionally, or that they may be giving towards a person without expectation of return. But I'm going to discuss this not from the psychological point of view, because with psychology, there are different interpretations. Some people may say that some people may believe that true love means they love unconditionally. Some others might believe that they are madly in love with someone. But this is all a psychological interpretation, and I'm not going to define it like that because it's so subjective. I'm going to define it from the energetic point of view, which is a much more, I would say, real or quote unquote factual way of looking at it. Because when we look at the energy structure and the energy arrangement or the dynamic, we can see the more authentic picture of what actually goes on within a person when they're in the state of true love, whether it is in the truest sense or whether it's in the romantic sense. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to do my traditional whiteboarding to outline some of the concepts and break it down for you. So let's do this. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to do some drawing right now. So when we look at true love and we're talking about the truest sense, it is synonymous with what I call unconditional love, which is also synonymous with what I call enlightenment. So this is all the same thing. And I'll explain why that is and why I would categorize them as all the same thing. So true love means when we have, like, so let's say we have the statement called I love you. Now, when we have a statement such as this, we call this conditional love. Well, let's not even say conditional love. We'll just call it conditional, because we could define unconditional love as all all love is unconditional. So that's one definition that we could hold. Now, when we have conditional love, we have both a subject and an object. The subject means that I'm the one loving you. You are the one being loved. So there's two parties to this. As long as there's two parties to this, I have to be the one doing the loving and you have to be the one being loved. These are the conditions. It has to be me and it has to be you. That's why it makes it conditional. So this is the arrangement or the relationship structure that people have set up most of their relationships. Maybe not even to this point, but this is how the majority of relationships go on earth. Now, if we were to start transforming this into unconditional, we have to start eliminating some of these items. And the first thing we may eliminate might be you. So we would just reduce the statement from I love you to I love. Now we could say, some people do say this, I love all meaning it doesn't matter if it's you, Bob, Joe, Don, Ron, John, Mary, Jane Smith, it doesn't matter. It's this person claims that they love all. Now, this is where a lot of spiritual people try to mold themselves into and push themselves into, because they think that because they're spiritual now, they have to love everybody equally. But we're still in the conditional stage because we still have a subject, and to be honest, we still have an object. Even they may not intend for there to be an object, but energetically there's still an object that is happening. But if we were to further eliminate and dwindle down on the path to being unconditional, we would have to eliminate. So we first eliminate this, and then we also have to eliminate this. So you're not the one loving. As long as you're the one loving, that is the condition. And then what we're left with at the end is just the action, which is just love. And even then, I would say this is sort of I would say this is sort of inaccurate, or in a way in a way it is conditional, because the action is love. This is still kind of conditional, to be honest. So if we were to further break this down, we would have none of it. We would have none of it. And that is unconditional because it's not predicated on me, it's not predicated on you, and is not predicated on any action in particular. So that's what makes it truly unconditional. Now, a lot of spiritual seekers will try to, again, mold themselves into being unconditional because they think that they have to love everybody. Most spiritual followers' understanding is this: I love all no matter what. They think this is what unconditional means. But look at how many conditions there are. There's one condition, two, three, and then four, no matter what. So there's four. So there's no possibility for this to be unconditional because you're the one doing the loving, and it's got to be love. It can't be any other action. And who's the subject? Everybody. Anybody and everybody has to be loved, no matter what is the condition. That even if you do something mean, I'm still going to love you no matter what. So these are four conditions, and that's the spiritual psychological mold that people think they have to mold themselves into. They think they're going from conditional to unconditional, but is actually what they're doing is they're four timesing the condition. So it's even, I don't know anyone who has an easy time doing this. They just likely frustrate themselves or drive themselves insane, thinking that why can't I just love everyone unconditionally? They have to push themselves to in order to satisfy the four conditions. It's almost like having a contract, and you have four conditions that you have to meet until you're a good person. This is the end driver, that they want to be a good person. A good person always loves all no matter what. That's the belief. That is the belief. And this belief drives this behavior because they want to be a good person. So look at how much distortion is occurring in this entire equation. And if we were to do true healing, we would basically blow up the whole thing. Blow up is not an accurate word. We would just simply shed this particular distortion so that there's really nothing there. This emptiness is actually the stand-in for and let me write this better. The emptiness is the stand-in for unconditional love, because there's no subject, no object, and no action. And because there's there's nothing, is just an open space. Um, then we can call this unconditional love, when there's absolutely nothing going on. And to spiritual understanding, this is very illogical, and it also trips people up because there's no goal to get to. Usually, when people are spiritual, they want to be a good person. They want to know the exact steps to be a good person. And we're telling them, you don't have to love anybody for it to be unconditional love. And that is what absolutely trips people up. Okay. So that's a very quick and dirty illustration of true love in the truest sense. And if we were to be in a romantic relationship, it doesn't change. Even if we are in a relationship with someone, or even a family connection or a friendship, this doesn't change. You can say that unconditional love is a level of consciousness. And a level of consciousness, being that it's unconditional, means that you're the same no matter who comes and goes. Because right now, relationship means, oh, I have a person who loves me that showed up. Oh, I feel happy. Oh, this person's mean to me. Oh, now I'm angry. Oh, this person betrayed me. Now I'm sad. Oh, this person gave me a lot of gifts. Oh, I feel joyful. Every relationship that comes in, you are changing yourself in a certain way. That's change. So you're changing yourself in a certain way, depending on who comes into your life, and and every person who comes and goes is doing something to you psychologically. However, if you're not living from psychology and you're living from a state of consciousness, there is no change. It doesn't matter who comes and who goes. Now, again, a lot of people will try to mold themselves to be like this. They will try to force and push themselves to feel nothing, or to feel grateful no matter what, to feel joyful no matter what, to feel thankful no matter what. But it doesn't work, because they're psychologically distorted. And these states of being, this level of consciousness, is not something that you can engineer. It's a result, it's a natural consequence of true healing. Let me okay, let me do this. Let's start a new thingy here. Um okay, oops. All right, so we could say that level, we have consciousness here, and then we have psychology. And with psychology, a person will try to change themselves from here to here, from point A to point B, because they think, oh, I need to change myself from sad to happy, or negative to positive. But with consciousness, there's no change. There's no change. There's no change, because it's a state of being. It's a state of, well, we could say it's a default. Default means no change. It just always goes back to the kind of like a thermostat. When you set a thermostat at a certain degree, it's always going to return and return and return to the same uh, setting that we're in. Whereas with psychology, you're literally trying to change yourself from sad to happy, or from negative to positive, or whatever it may be. So living from consciousness is a much different way of being, but it can only come about as a natural consequence of true healing. You cannot engineer. You cannot engineer this to happen. You can try to engineer from this to this, but likely you'll always go back to your default because of the thermostat. You'll always go back. You'll always go back. You're sad and you try to make yourself happy for 5 minutes, you're going to go back to being sad. For an hour, you're going to go back to being sad. So it's sort of like this. Whereas with consciousness, there's no change because it's a natural consequence. It happened without your involvement, is what I mean. Okay, so anyway, let us go now into the romantic aspect of true love. Okay. Now, this is going to be the, like I said, the popularized or the commercialized or the cultural definition of true love, which is that one person is, what is that? I don't know why I did that. Whereas one person is just completely in love towards another person, because we might define it as someone having no agenda towards another person. They have no expectations, which is really the same thing as agenda. And they're all giving, all loving. So we see this a lot with parents and their kids. Well, parents actually. Not sure about kids. But or at least yeah, we see that, or actually with pet owners and their pets. No agenda, no expectation, all giving, all forgiving. And this is the definition of true love. So that's the psychological definition, which changes from person to person. Because if you were to ask someone, oh yeah, I agree with this, no agenda. Oh yeah, I agree with no expectations. Oh yeah, I agree with all giving. But no, I don't agree with being all forgiving, because if someone were to hurt you, no, I'm not going to be all forgiving. I'm going to draw a boundary. That's not my definition of true love. So this, as long as true love is a psychological definition, it's going to vary from person to person, depending on what they will accept and are comfortable with. So that's not a reliable way to define true love if we were to talk about it from a healing perspective. So from a healing perspective, true love, okay, so this is the psychological definition. This is the energy definition. True love would be two people being, how should I draw this? I will draw it like this. Oops. Is that they're being completely open to each other. And the reason I drew this is because this would be the energy boundary. And notice the boundary encompasses the both of them. There's nothing in between them. Now, when we look at majority of relationships, I'm sorry, this is so messy. Try to draw this fast. Okay, majority of relationships, this is what it looks like. So you have person A, and then you have person B, and they are in their own boundary, meaning the energy never shares an openness. There's a hard boundary here. And this is the majority. I would say there's like 99.999999999% is like this. And the reason is because people aren't healing. So as long as you're not healing, your energy distortions are going to set up some kind of barrier between you and basically everybody else. Okay. And this is where This exact scenario is where people love to talk about intimacy because they are blocking each other energetically uh from allowing each other in energetically. Now they're going to talk about intimacy, and they define intimacy as sharing secrets. Knowing everything, like knowing your thoughts, like reading your thoughts. Sorry, I'm so messy. Secrets, knowing your thoughts and sharing everything. Why is there such an obsession with knowing each other's deep dark secrets, knowing each other's thoughts and sharing? Is only because there is a hard boundary that separates them. Now, people will say, "Oh, you got to open your heart." Okay, let's say this person opens their heart. What does it do? They're still hitting a boundary. Let's say maybe they do open their heart. Can I erase here? Let me see. Okay, so let's say they do open their heart. Okay, but the other person might be like this on their side, on their side. Um, so we see this happen sometimes where one person is energetically open, the other person is still not energetically open. Or maybe they could have something like this. Oops, they could have something like this. Possibly they might have something like this where only like a tiny amount, tiny amount. Barely tiny amount. Okay. So so in this model, this is the extent of the energy openness. This little gap here is all that they would be willing to share with each other. And still, what that means is that they're still trying to achieve intimacy by knowing each other's secrets, opening up. That's a common terminology for people who are blocking each other. I gotta open up to my person. I'm gonna open up my heart and tell them things about me. So as long as people are trying to achieve intimacy, there's a huge clue that they're energetically blocking each other. Now, I'm gonna talk about uh, um, soulmates. Let's talk about soulmates for a second. I'm going to change to a new screen because I'm running out of space here. Soulmates, we typically see, not me, I typically see something like this. So we have two people, and we may have something like this, possibly something like this. So they may be similar. We could call this similarity. They're similar. So they're in their own space. If you were to, let's say you were to look at a side by side photo of two soulmates, you will see that there is some similarity between them because again, it all comes back to these energy gaps. There is a similarity. Whatever gap there is means there's something that they're sharing. So this is their own personality. And then here it is like this, A plus B. And then here's A again, he's B again, and here's A plus B again. So whatever they share is a sort of similarity. I could say it's A plus B. I think that's an accurate equation. So they're open to each other, but not all the way. And they're similar, but they're not same. Soulmates are similar, but not identical. And what is a apropos analogy is a family who has siblings. And I'm not talking about siblings being in a relationship, but siblings are similar, but not identical. Okay. And if you were to see a photo it looks like, because of these spaces here, oops, because of the A plus B here, the A plus B here, the A plus B here, you may energetically register this couple as, oh yeah, they're really compatible together because of the A plus B. They really feel right together. They feel like very complementary. They really go together. They really complement each other. I don't know if I said that right. So it's like peanut butter and jelly, spaghetti and meatballs. They really complement each other. Complementary. Okay. Now, can you have true love here? Yes, you can, because of these spaces here. Maybe I should change to a different color. Because of these spaces here, we can say that, yeah, it is possible for them to um be able to share true love because they're identical. Now you can probably guess already that I define true love in a romantic sense as energy similarity or energy identificate identical identicalness. Identicalness. Okay, so soulmates. Okay, now so regular folk. I think it was in the next the previous slide actually. Regular, let's just do a recap. Regular people, they're probably um I'm going to close this gap here. They're probably already quite blocked. What am I doing? They're quite blocked, and there is no energetic sharing in between these these two partners. And so intimacy becomes a thing. Whenever there's no intimacy, intimacy becomes a thing. It's sort of like when you don't have money, money becomes a thing. Like you make it into a thing. Like when you don't have money, manifestation becomes a thing. When you don't have love, love becomes a thing. Whatever you don't have, you make it into a thing. So that's the reason for that. And then another energy structure that I want to discuss, which is a hot button topic in this community, is the concept of twin flames. Now, everybody and their uncle thinks they're a twin flame, but this is so incredibly rare that in the last maybe 10 years, I've only seen one other person who's a twin flame, or one other couple, I mean. And I get sent photos a lot. Everybody thinks they're a twin flame because they're having all these psychological feelings. So again, I don't want to go into the psychological space because it's so subjective. Anybody thinks, oh, I have a tumultuous relationship or a deep attraction to someone, they must be my twin flame. No. Now, from the energy point of view, twin flame, if you've ever heard of such a thing called biological twin in a family where two brothers and two sisters are identical because they're twins, this is the same exact concept, but in the energy sense, such that there is no boundary between them. Zero boundaries. Zero. So that when you look at this person, it is equal to looking at this person. You can, if this person didn't show up at a party, it wouldn't matter if this person showed up because they are identical. And I'm not talking about you guys liking the same movies. That doesn't count. 100% identical means the energy is singular. It's one energy. Two people, but one energy. Two people, but one energy. You cannot tell the boundary between this person and that person. In the previous model, we had a line coming down here because you can see clearly they're two different people. In the twin flame model, there is none. There is absolutely no boundary. And when you look at a photo of two a pair of twin flames, there is again no boundary. It is all one thing. It is the equivalent of pouring one glass of water into another glass of water. You cannot separate. So in the soulmate model, we had peanut butter and jelly and spaghetti meatballs. In the twin flame model, it's water and water. You cannot separate. Cannot separate. So how I assess whether two people are twin flames, all I have to do is look at their picture. If I see a boundary, they're not twin flames. If I see no boundary, they are twin flames. That's as easy as that. And again, like I said, I've only seen one other person, one other couple who have this complete lack of boundary. Now, in terms of the intimacy, there's no need. What need is there? If you're, it's almost like saying, I need to build intimacy between my nose and my nostrils and air. Is there a need? They're already in contact. Or you're saying the air in the kitchen needs to build intimacy with the air in the living room. Is there a need? Because it's one thing. It's one air. It's one air. One air. So, in this sense, because there's a lack of boundary, we can say, so there's zero energy boundaries. We can say that this is true love, meaning there's zero separation between this person and that person. So, in the romantic sense, I would define this as true love. I would also, I would also define this, it's twin flames are extremely rare. There's probably like all told, maybe like 12 people who are twin flames. But I would also define this as true love, even when they're similar but not identical, because we still have these pockets or these energy um how what I say that we have this energy togetherness or a melding together or a unity that we can see. It's not all over. It's not in their entire way of being, but there is some. Now, a question is, can you further break down these walls? Yes, you can with true healing. But you're working on your own, they're working on their own, and it really depends on I mean it, let me explain it this way. So you can have a twin flame here, and you can have a non-twin flame, and maybe they're both energetically open, but it doesn't mean they share any kind of identicalness. um So, this is a different model because we're not talking about energy barriers anymore. We're talking about energy signature or energy design. I don't like that word design. Energy characteristic, perhaps. Um, that's a different conversation because the twin flames have a identical energy characteristic. And we can do that in another video. Whereas it doesn't mean like just because this person is open and that person is open doesn't mean that they're twin flames. I get asked this question a lot because the question is, well, if I'm healed within myself, if I don't have an energy boundary, does that mean everyone is my twin flame? I would say no, because we'll insert a second definition of twin flame here, which is that they share identical energy characteristics. So the first characteristic would be energy openness to each other. And then the second characteristic would be they share identical energy characteristics. So that would be my definition of twin flame. Now, if a twin flame was open and a non-twin flame was open, what does that mean? What does this make them? It would just make them healed. Simple as that. They'll just be healed. There's no other label that's really necessary. So, getting back to the original premise of this whole video, what is let me go back to what is the definition of true love in the romantic sense? I don't think I've really properly answered that question. So let me do another thing here. So in the romantic sense for true love, I would say it is not an action. Now, a lot of people equate love with action. A lot of people think love means you take action. It means we talk about my favorite subject that I love to crush, which is love languages. Love, the premise of love languages is love equals action. If you love me, you got to do all this crap for me. You got to do acts of, what is it now? Words of affirmation. You got to spend time with me. You got to give me gifts. You've got to mop the floor. You've got to pick up milk after work. You got to do all this stuff to prove you love me through your action. If you just say you love me, but you don't do anything, that's not love. That is the current modern definition. You love me, but you just sit all day. You just sit there all day. People say you're useless. That's not love. You're a man child. No, that's, and to me that's not how it works. I would never define love in this way, but people think love equals doing stuff. Do this, do that. Do this, do that. And because they define love in this way, they assume true love is like doing a lot of it. A lot. Like if you love me a little, you'll do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. You really love me, you're gonna do a lot. You're gonna do it all. Do it all. You're gonna do it all. So that's that that is the definition of true love in the romantic sense, is that people think it's all about action. I'm saying love has nothing to do with action. Has nothing to do with action. Now, because love has nothing to do with action, now everyone's going to panic. Now everyone's going to panic because it's like, well, how do I get love? If no one's going to do anything for me, how do I get loved? If I don't do anything for anyone, how do I prove to another person that I love them? Oh, you mean I don't have to do all this stuff? But how would they ever know I love them? So the first thing is that true love is not about action. It is not even about, let me think about how I want to define this. I want to say that it's not necessarily about psychology, but the caveat is that it is about energy, openness, which leads to feelings. Okay. What does this mean? Psychology, to define love as psychology means to believe, like, let's say to adore someone. Do I want to use that? No, to think of someone as special or worthy. Those would be psychological definitions of being in love with someone, if you think of them in a special way. But I'm going back to defining true love as an energy instead of psychology. So I'm saying true love is an energetic openness where you have you here and there's no boundary. Like we're not doing this. We're not doing this. There's it's just an openness. It's just a complete openness. So that's part one. And then part two is, hey, you feel something. You do feel something. I don't know if this is a perfect definition. I didn't really think about this too much when I set up this video. So I'm just kind of riffing here. Energy openness is what leads energy openness is what leads to a sort of feeling. I would say when you have feelings for someone, this is a big question mark. This is a big question mark because it could come about in a myriad of ways. It could come from past lives. So it's a continuation. What you feel for someone was it was already there before you met them because of having past lives together. Or it could be a trigger that comes from your wounds. So let's say you had a difficult childhood, people who inflict that or trigger that past pain are going to be people that you're drawn to. And then the third kind is just a genuine feeling about someone. And I would say this kind of goes back to this. You may have heard me say on Twitter that past lives, everybody that is significant to you in your life, in your relationship, is someone that you've already met in a past life. So it means you already love them even before you met them. And then once you meet them, oh, there's a heart. I didn't mean to do that. Look at that. Yeah. That every time you meet someone and they feel significant, it's because you already met them in a past life. And that, uh, so this equation here, we could say you had feelings first, which led to energy openness, which led to more feelings. We could say this equation is also possible, or we could say energetic openness leads to feelings, or we could also say feelings led to energy openness. I think each of these, I can see each of these scenarios being valid depending on the two people that are attracted to each other. As long as there's energy openness, there is some kind of intimacy that is going on. And we can go back to which model was it now? I don't know if I can find it. Maybe it was this one. Yeah, as long as there is intimacy, or as long as there's a little bit of openness, there is a sort of energetic intimacy. Like if we were to create a little bit of intimacy here, so that's possible. But because we have past lives, we may have a little bit of a chicken and egg scenario. But let me think for a second. So you have feelings for someone that leads to openness. Probably I would say maybe this is not as likely because it means that it would be a trigger. Okay, so I'm gonna redefine. I'm gonna redefine this because we're constantly gaining more discernment, not discernment, what is it? Perception. So I would say this is probably the correct sequence, that you first have energetic openness, which leads you to be able to feel something for someone. And this is because of past lives. Now, if you're in a narcissistic relationship, this is especially bad news because you have an energetic openness towards a person and you feel things for them, but it's not necessarily a relationship that is beneficial to you. So, but I wouldn't call that true love per se. Did I define what true love means? So I define true love as not being about action and not being about psychology, but about energy openness. Um, Let me give you another definition. Another definition is we're going to again go back to energy. So you're treating, so here's person A and here's person B. They're treating each other as what I want. Um, I would say we call it inclusion. So it's almost like when A is thinking about B, B is part of A. When B is thinking about A is part of B. Like they're always the same. They're always the same. So it's not possible to separate them. Again, let's say you cannot separate. You cannot separate. So we see this with like my one of my favorite examples again goes back to um a person with their pet. They're always considering, so let's say person is A, pet is B. They're always including the pet as part of themselves, part of themselves. They're never separate. If you were to hurt their pet, it is equivalent to hurting them. We see this with parents too, parent child, where we have, if you a parent thinks of the child as part of them, there's no separation. I'm not sure the child would think of the parent as part of them. Maybe. Well, we can put this here. So there's again like they consider the other as part of themselves. Now you can say that ran out of room again. So we can say that we have person A here and the world is the other. We can say that the person A includes the entire world as themselves, includes entire world as themselves. So we could say this is, I don't want to say that it's a psychological inclusion because again, if you make this a psychological thing, people are going to try to push themselves or mold themselves to think a certain way. It's not a mindset. Love is not a mindset. But people want to make love into a mindset because that means they can engineer themselves to be loving all the time. So love is not a mindset. Let me cross this out. So when whatever you include as part of you, whatever you include as part of you is you. This is all you. So if you were to say, I'm including the entire world as me, you would say, I and the world are one. This is the inclusion. Again, this is not psychology. This is energy. Now, I'm sort of going in a loop here because how do you include another as part of you? It's because you have no boundaries. No boundaries. How do you have no boundaries? How to have no energy boundaries? You would be truly healed or not or and no what I want to say, you would be truly healed and you could say enlightened, because enlightened in the truest sense means no energy boundaries. There's no boundaries that separates you from the let's see. Let's do it like this. There's no boundary separating you from the inside and the world outside. It's all one thing. Now, what does this remind you of? Twin flames, where it's two people, but they're included as one unit. Enlightenment is one unit. And this is why people use the word one. Oneness. So you could say true love is oneness. Now, I think this crosses over into the truest definition of true love, more so than the romantic aspect. But if we were to discuss the energetic definition of true love, where we're including everything that's not us as us, it's like, so there's me, and then not me. So this is the model of separation. There's me versus not me, and oneness or true love. True love would be me and also me as one unit. I hope that makes sense. I could riff around this for a long time, because there's just so many different ways of looking at it, different ways of understanding it from every different angle, and it's all connected in some way or another. The main thing to understand is that true love is not something that you can engineer. Everyone watching this video is going to think, how do I get to true love? How do I attract true love? How do I manifest true love and then get someone to love me truly? This is all, the question is action. What do I need to do? What does the other person have to do? How do I engineer it? How do I make it happen? And then the second element is, how do they feel? How should they feel? How should I feel? How do I make myself feel? How should I make the relationship feel? What kind of atmosphere do I need to have? What kind of intimacy do I need to have true? So all of that is engineered transaction. It's a business or some kind of transaction when you have to manage every aspect of, how do you feel? How do they feel? What should he do? What should she do? What should you do? So you don't do this, you don't do the action, you don't do psychology, you simply heal yourself so you have energy openness, but also understanding that your energy openness already is there from due to past lives, and that's going to cause you to psychologically feel or emotionally feel feelings that you could characterize as love in some way. And then if we, just to recap one more time, when we include everything else as part of us, back to here, to be separate is me versus not me. So a lot of people will yeah, okay, let's use the word partner. So partner A and partner B is like this. You're you, I'm me. We're just married or together, but we're two different people. We have separate energies. We don't share any energies together, and we're gonna try to build intimacy between each other because we're not really we're all energetically all walled up. And then oneness, true love is me, and everything else is also you. And again, it's not psychology. So don't try to meditate your way or engineer yourself to change your mindset. Love is not a mindset. love is not a mindset. Oneness is not a mindset either. So spirituality is always teaching people you can make a mindset here, make a mindset there, just meditate your way to a mindset. Stop doing that because it's artificial. Oneness is not a mindset, it's a consequence of true healing. It's a consequence of true healing. It's consequence. So uh and then this model is identical to, I don't know where it is now, twin flames. There's no separation between the two. Now, a bunch of you is going to be very disappointed that and wonder if you're a twin flame in this lifetime or not. I would say that is the wrong question to ask. The right question to ask is, how much healing are you doing? Because even if you're not a twin flame, first of all, what slide is this on? If you, was it here? Yeah. Even if you are not a twin flame, you could still have enough energy gaps where you're sharing energy with another person or have a similar complementary energy with another person, like a soulmate. And these are love relationships. It doesn't mean that true love is only categorized as twin flame love and soulmates aren't, but these can be true love relationships as long as we have this openness here. Openness means openness. Why is this? Okay, openness um as a default. If you have openness as a default, it means no need to make intimacy happen. And let me redefine this, make energy intimacy happen. Okay. So, like I said, people might define intimacy as sharing secrets and um, knowing things about people and getting people to open up. But if you're already having these uh, openness between you in some way, there's no need to say anything. Like, what would you need to say? You don't even need to open up. You're already open. You only need to open up if you're closed. So if you're already open, what more is there? So that's why I always say when people make goals, the goal is pointing to the problem, but the goal doesn't address the root cause of the problem. So anyway, I am all fried. By the end of this, you might be too. I'm fried. So I'm going to end this video here. Of course, I probably only covered 2% of this topic. Probably there's probably a lot more to riff here. And then whenever I have some more new perceptions, I can come back to do another video from a new vantage point, because we're always changing perceptions if we're doing true healing. If you're not doing true healing, then uh, you wouldn't be able to have new perceptions. You would have more beliefs. So anyway, I'm going to end the video here. Let me stop sharing. I hope this was interesting and entertaining. And if you want to learn how to truly heal yourself, you can visit my website. I think, oh, it's not there. Okay, so it's Ana Coeur beauty.com. I'll put it in the description. I am taking students right now, so you can fill out an application form to see if you would be a suitable match to learn the energy healing technique for true healing. And then you can also find a lot of free content on X, Twitter. And be sure to subscribe, click like, and turn on notifications so that every time I upload, you will get a notification. So drop also your comments and your questions down below. If you have any topics that you'd like me to cover, let me know and I can take a look and see if we can make that happen. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.